Welcome to the Daily Insider here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers as we have reached the final show, not only of May, but also the final Daily Insider, as we'll be going on a bit of a hiatus with our shows, and we'll be back coming up in the fall. We'll have a new lineup. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I want to finish things off on a strong note. And we bring on Stephanie Otey. There she is. For the final show today. Sam Panaytovich is going to join us in just a little bit from NESN up in New England. They have the Red Sox games on up there, and he does a lot of betting content with them, and he's going to join us. Sammy P is what they call him. So he's going to join us coming up in about 10 minutes or so to look ahead of the Celtics Heat tonight and also talk some Red Sox and other things. But Stephanie, first thing we begin with, your Mavs. They got knocked out last night by the old Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
A game in which Golden State jumped out to a big lead. Dallas made it a bit competitive in the second half, but unfortunately too big of a hole for them to jump out of. Klay Thompson was great, hit a lot of shots. And unfortunately, Luka can only do so much.
Yeah,
Nothing
I mean,
I think than what he did.
Yeah, and I think that's where he got frustrated. I was on a flight delay, so I didn't get to catch the second half of the game, and I was like stressing the whole time up in the air. But when I landed and looked at the stat sheet, I was a bit surprised just looking at the number of shots they put up. That they were shooting at a similar 3-point percentage, so they got more opportunities at the charity stripe too. So I just wanted to know the story of the second half. That's where I got confused because I wasn't able to watch that. But upon landing, I kind of expected it, just the way they got out of the gate. It would be hard to play from behind. But yeah, I mean, I saw the highlights. You could see Luka getting frustrated. I mean, I feel like it affected his play in a way. I mean, he still put up, I think it was like 28 points. But yeah, it's got to be frustrating. And to get to, especially in that spot, I felt comfortable with them playing in Dallas. Like I didn't think it was going to be a sweep. I thought they would win that game 4 at home, but returning to Golden State, where they are undefeated at home, the Warriors are, that's where things got tricky. And they do look like that experienced all-star cast that we've seen plenty of times.
You know, you look at the box, and Steph only had 15, 5 of 17 from the floor. Draymond Green has 17, which obviously that's huge.
Exactly.
Klay Thompson has 8 threes. Andrew Wiggins was 0 of 7 from 3, still had 18 points, but they had the shared scoring where Luka had 28, Brunson had 10, which was a killer. Dinwiddie had a good game with 26, but Finney-Smith 13, Bullock only 6. There's not a lot of help around Luka. That he can only do so much when these other teams have got second and third options. Really, Dallas doesn't have a lot of great options around Luka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like looking at the starting 5 for the Warriors, all in double digits. Then you get 16 points from Poole off the bench. It's different when you look at the Mavs stat sheet. It's not being spread out as much, and that's what we keep saying on Daily Insider. When you have a full, complete team, that's what's getting you further. It's hard to win games when you have that one guy. I mean, ask LeBron James. It is not easy to win a basketball game in the NBA unless you have a full, complete team and even have depth too. I think that's where the Warriors are excelling. And even off of an injured up, banged up season, they know how to play in the playoffs. You know, they rise to the occasion. And so I think the Mavs are going to be a good team in due time. They just got to build out that roster.
The problem is that they cut it from 23 to 8. They got it all the way down to 8 in the final seconds of the third, and then the Warriors got a basket to go up again by 10, and then they end up winning by 10. They just couldn't get over the hump, and you can't dig yourself a hole that big against Golden State. That's the issue. That Dallas in Game 2 led by 20, blew it. Game 3, they were up early, and then Golden State took the lead. Game 4, Dallas rolled, and Golden State was kind of like, all right, that's fine. We'll go back home and win it. But you just can't get down by that score, and they gave 41 in the second. That pretty much killed them.
And that's where I think I was wrong with the Mavericks. Like, I thought they were a clutch team, great under pressure. I feel like playing in that environment is what's best for them. I thought that going to Golden State. They're down, the Warriors could win it right there. I thought that would be the best pressure for them. And it didn't come out the way. So so this is the question that I raise. Are the Warriors that good, or were the Suns, were the Suns legit? I think it does raise the question about that Suns series. Like, did we overanalyze the way the Suns are playing during the regular season, or are the Mavs that capable? Or did they optimize on the Suns in a weak spot?
I think Phoenix had a bad game 7. I think simple as that. I think we should have had Phoenix Golden State in the conference finals. Dallas was good enough to hang with them, but you see Dallas played better against Phoenix than it did against Golden State. And Golden State was the 3 and Phoenix was the 1, and Dallas won their home games, really struggled on the road in 1, 3, and 5. They lost by 30 points in game 5. Then game 7, just everything broke right for the Mavericks. They played great, but it turned into a 1-game series, and the Suns were awful. And
what was impressive with the Mavs was how they played without Luka at the start of the playoffs too. I mean, that's what gave me so much confidence in them. Like, the guys around Luka stepped up when he was not there, So I thought that would play out. I just really wonder how many games there would be for the Suns Warriors series. It's just, I'm very curious to see how that series would have played out in comparison to how the Mavericks played against the Warriors.
You would have probably got at least 6 games minimum. And I think, unfortunately, even though Luka, he is a star, you would have gotten much better games with Phoenix and Golden State. You would have had Chris Paul out there. You would have had Devin Booker. You had Ayton. There's just more pieces on that Phoenix team than what's on Dallas. And Dallas is good to get through a round or 2, but to get through 3 rounds, I think maybe asking a bit much. And look, Dallas gave a good effort. They really did. But unfortunately, Golden State is on that next level.
Yeah.
That's just what it's turned into.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, like the Suns, they made it to the finals last year, and they choked. I feel like I can rely
They 100% choked. They were up 2-0. They should have won that series.
And, I mean, would you say they choked against the Mavs, or did they just fall flat? Like, I feel like they're a choking team. I mean, how many opportunities has Chris Paul had?
Always had plenty. Last year was worse because it felt like you're up 2-0, and they lost the game 5 at home, and then they had to go back to Milwaukee for game 6. At least Phoenix was up 3-2, and they had proven they couldn't win in Dallas. So you had the game 7 in your pocket at home. They had some blowouts in that series. That's the worst part. It's not like they were beating Dallas in close games. Game 1 was a misleading final score. They were up big. Dallas came back. Then they won game 2, and then game 5 was a blowout. Phoenix is a tough team. Phoenix, it's tough to figure out because they had a really good regular season, and for their season to end the way it did against a team they probably should have knocked out is very disappointing.
Let me ask you this. If Memphis played the Suns instead of the Warriors, would they be in at this point?
The problem is Ja Morant. If Ja Morant's healthy, that's one thing, but with the Ja injury, and that's the other thing you can say about Golden State is that they missed Ja for a few games and they avoided Phoenix. And I'm not taking away from Golden State, but also Phoenix last year, Anthony Davis got hurt in the first round when the Lakers lost. And then Phoenix had, they avoided Kawhi in the conference finals when they played the Clippers. So there were some things there too that Phoenix had some breaks. Why am I blanking? Who did they lose to, or who did they beat in the second round last year? But Phoenix had, you need breaks. You definitely need some breaks in some of these series, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, look at Boston. Even Chris Middleton didn't play in the Milwaukee series, so you had that. Oh, it's Denver they swept. That's right.
I think that's what creates all of these debates too. Like when you analyze these series, because it's not like a 1-game, like March Madness, basically a shootout. Like we have a full series to analyze these games. And so I do think that when you look at a 7-game series and if one key player is out, it truly does change the trajectory of the playoffs. So, I mean, do you think that it would be Milwaukee in here against the Heat if Middleton didn't get hurt?
I mean, that's a hard one. I mean, they still got to a 7th game without him, but also Boston blew one of the games at game 5 at home. They blew. They should have won, but also Milwaukee threw away a game. I think game 4 of that series. The injury thing is so hard. It really is, because there's no guarantee that if Chris Middleton plays, that Milwaukee advances. There's no guarantee. Like last year, if Kawhi doesn't get hurt against Utah, that the Clippers go to the finals instead of the Suns. It's just a hard thing to equate. So I don't know. We'll see. And now you have tonight, which we'll get into.
I was going to say, do you think that the line is fair for the Heat where it sits right now?
It has to be, after having 2 blowouts the last.
But they blew out. But they were able to blow out Boston too. Like that's what's so interesting about this series. It's always a blowout. Even in the Heat were able to have a blowout over Boston too. So it's like, I like the spread, just because of that. But 8.5 steep for me. I feel like. I mean, yeah, they've been blown out, but I'm not ready to do that. That game is in Boston, so that's a factor. But the Heat were able to pull off a win in Boston.
They were. It's just, I think that this team is just so beat up right now with everything that's going on that part of me thinks, all right, this is a lot of points to lay with Boston. It really is. But then the Heat, if they're just totally broken, that how do you make an argument for them? I don't know how that's the case, to make an argument for a team that has scored 82 and 80 points or whatever it is the last 2 games, that they can't score. They're 8 of 45 from 3 in the last game. And Jimmy Butler, their best player, is not 100%. So how do you do it? How do you back this team? I kind of like the over. I think that we've seen the under hit so easily the last 2 games that hopefully now getting this low at 201, 201.5, that maybe you get just enough to get over the total tonight.
Yeah. The total is a little low for me though. At 201, then again, the Heat have been struggling to put up points. I mean, I always try to take the over when it's that low. But the Heat have had opportunities, and then once the Celtics stopped turning it over, that's when they just lost all hope.
The first half, the Celtics didn't do much the other night. It was the second half they blew up, and the Heat did nothing. So, if the Heat can, I know I'm saying something that is really brilliant, but just don't get off to that bad start. Don't get down 18-1. That's the problem. They got into an 18-1 hole in game 4, and then obviously they were blown out. Game 5, the Heat started off better. I mean, it was still an ugly start, but the Heat took the lead at the half. And then things fell apart early in the second half because Boston hit shots, Jaylen Brown hit shots. But what Boston has is they have their 2 superstars at least healthy, where the Heat superstar is not healthy. Bam has been hit or miss a lot in this series. Tyler Hero may not play. You got to have guys that can score. But you look at that Golden State team, it's the same thing. Like when you got Clay and Steph and Andrew Wiggins and even Draymond's hitting shots, that team is unbeatable at this point.
I think Hero's key here. But I mean, Jimmy Butler had a rare 3 bad games. And then Tyler Hero he's been off since the first half of game 1, I feel like. So when those 2, if they get into a rhythm, but how do you do that at this point? That's the struggle they have here in Miami. They're only they're scoring just 84 points per 100 possessions. And then when you're up against the Celtics defense, that's a recipe for disaster. And at this point when they're so banged up, you can only make so many adjustments. What are their options now?
Just have your guys healthy. I mean, at this point they need to be healthy. I mean, you've played 5 games. You're at the 6th game of the series. They can win in Boston, the Heat, but they could win if they have health. With what they're throwing out, Jimmy Butler, the last few games since he got hurt, 13, 6, and 8 points. 13, 6, and 8 in his last 3 games, which, again, after you had a 41-point effort and a 29-point effort in the first 2 games, it's obviously a huge disappointment. Scored 27 points in the last 4 games, but again, that's the that's the situation that the Heat are dealing with right now. So again, I just don't know what the Heat can do if that guy cannot score. The Heat are not winning a game for the most part with Jimmy Butler scoring 10 or 15 points.
I know.
They need him to score 20 or 30 points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think once he gets going, I think it kind of just replicates too. So I would say the game is on Butler at this point. I think Hero is a big factor too, but you got to look to Butler here. And so having an off 3 games, I mean, do you think he'll go for 4 games that are off? I mean, how do you look at this game? I don't like 8.5 as the spread. Like, that's just too steep, I feel like.
If you said which one, you got to make a choice. I would probably lean Heat just because I think this is too big of an adjustment. But they don't need Jimmy Butler to score 40 in Game 7. They need him to do that in Game 6, and whatever happens in Game 7 happens in Game 7. Just get to that survival game between these 2 teams with Boston now going on the road. Get to that point. But I cannot see the Heat winning this game tonight if Jimmy Butler has 10 points. Because then who else is going to score? If they need even 90 to win, let's just say, who's going to get the other 80 points when Kyle Lowry's hurt? He's not playing well. Bam, again, has been up and down. PJ Tucker, I don't know if you could rely on him. I mean, Lowry was 0 of 6. Strus was 0 of 9. Duncan Robinson, not a great defender, and his shooting has been up and down. Gabe Vincent, I mean, even Oladipo, he blew up in that Game 4 loss, but he was 1 of 7 the other night. I got to believe they're not going 7 of 45 again from 3, but you need some more shared scoring. I mean, the Boston Celtics, they got 25 from Brown, 22 from Tatum, 16 from Horford. You got 63 from 3 of your top players. The Heat got 31 from their 2 top players. That's not enough.
Yeah, it's completely different when you look at the 2 of them. And it's just interesting to go from Butler having a 41-point game and then fall into single-digit points. I mean, if we were looking at that game, where did you think the projection of this series was going? I mean, did anyone see Butler stooping down this much?
Well, I got to see if he
he has been inconsistent this season, but like 3 games in a row, that's kind of rare.
Well, and also I got to believe he's just not 100%. Like, that's the only way you can say this, that he is not that he's not 100% at this point. All right, well, let's bring on Sammy P. Is it Sam Panaytovich, right?
Nailed it.
Good. Yeah. I listened to one of your podcasts. That's the only way. I didn't just conjure that up. So Sam Panaytovich, NESN, and you're on a new show on NESN, right?
Yeah, we have a show called Lunchline, which is on digital, NESN.com, NESNBets.com. That's at 1 o'clock Monday through Friday. And then we've got an actual television show that's 5:30 Eastern, Monday through Friday. And let me apologize first and foremost. I am not 85 years old. I could not figure out the laptop. So we're going mobile on this Friday. So appreciate you being patient with me.
No worries. And you have my girl Claudia too joining you at NESN. That's exciting.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun. You know, I think the best feedback we've gotten so far is that it looks good. The studio is super awesome. I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar studio, but this show is not the 3 of us sitting at a desk for a half an hour. We are using these bookend monitors. We have this huge curve monitor. The lines are moving. We're moving. We're on our feet. We're moving across the studio. I'm very proud of the crew. I'm proud of the team. And, the results will always come and go, as you know. I think the conversation around odds, though, is a lot of fun. Like yesterday, we talked about this bet. Would you rather bet the Patriots to finish in first or in fourth? And these are bets you can make. We're talking about sports, but we're putting numbers inside.
What are your thoughts? We were just talking about it, Sammy. What were your thoughts on tonight's game with the Heat and the Celtics? You're up in Boston. What's the vibe up there? Celtics off back-to-back blowouts. The Heat kind of a beat-up team. You think this number's a little too high, or think it's right on point?
I feel like you're being baited to take Miami in this one. I mean, the average point spread in this series when Boston was the home team was about 6.5, 7. So now you're paying essentially a Boston tax. And that's because we all watched the Heat limp all over the court on their home floor and just really get embarrassed. I mean, the game wasn't really close in that third, fourth quarter, especially after that big run by the Celtics. But I try not to be a prisoner of the moment. Look, if you were to tell me going into game number 6 that I could get the Miami Heat +9, I probably would have made that bet. But then I just watched game 5. So it's really weird because we see a lot of this in the postseason. You know, the market and the public bettors react to just one outcome, but I don't think Miami's healthy. And there were some COVID rumors. There was a lot of stuff going on. People in the organization have COVID. The players, some false positives and then some negatives and all that. And look, like they played like they all had COVID in the last game. Jimmy Butler's just worn. He's battered. He's bruised. Kyle Lowry can't cut. You know, this is not a Miami Heat team at full strength, and I think we've all been able to witness that over the 5 games we've seen so far. So I think the number is right. It's a little expensive to lay Boston. Like, you don't have to bet the side. My advice would be if you like Boston, you know, going forward, this is probably that last time to get like +130, +150 on them to win the NBA championship. Like, let's play it forward. Like, rather than lay 9 points and you like Boston, you could take them, you know, at a plus price. Because I think by the time we get to Celtics Warriors, it's inevitable. It's probably going to be Golden State in the series like -120 or -125. So the Celtics will be +100, +105. Well, if you bet them right now, you're going to get 30 extra cents or so on them to win the championship. So that's something to think about. But this game 6, it's almost unbettable. The line feels right. The total feels right. I will be betting Al Horford's under for points. It's like 10.5, so I'll be rooting against that like a maniac. You know, he could score 20, he could score 25, but we've also seen him score 4 and 6 and 8 in this postseason. So I'll probably be on Horford's under, but as for the game itself, I don't really want to bet it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, you know, we saw the Heat win in Boston, wasn't by a big margin, and we see Boston, they win in Miami by 20 points. So, I mean, that difference does favor the Celtics. I look at the Heat money line. I think you're right. I think I might be getting baited, but +310 looks pretty juicy for the value there. They are unhealthy. So do you think that there's any value in getting that kind of +300, 310 for the Heat to go outright here?
Yeah, sure. Look, if you think Miami's going to win this game, by all means, pull the trigger. I just don't. You know, I think the lack of offensive production and the lack of depth is really hurting them. You know, I saw Joel Embiid tweet something the other night like Miami needs another star. I thought that was interesting for Joel Embiid to be tweeting that from his couch or whatever. But, you know, when you take a Jimmy Butler at, you know, 70%, 75%, that just lessens the load for that entire team. And, you know, Max Strus is a guy who played really well in the last series, and he missed his first 7 3-pointers in game number 5. You know, Duncan Robinson has been phased out of that rotation. He was playing 30 minutes last year. Now he's playing like, you know, 12, 15 minutes. They relied on Gabe Vincent to carry them through the last round. And it's just, it's a war of attrition at this point. Boston is a better basketball team. I think we all know that. The bookmakers have said that. Going into the series, remember, Boston was like -200 to win the series, even though they played game 7 on the road potentially. So it's a great story. Miami had a really good season. They overachieved. I just wish they were healthy. And that's my concern. And the other side of that is, you know, the books are going to sort of dangle that carrot. They're like, all right, Stephanie, we'll give you 3-1 on Miami. And you're like, wow, like that's good value. But good value doesn't always win. That's the reality of the situation. I think they could win, but I wouldn't bet them to win, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, from I guess looking ahead and assuming the Celtics end up winning this game or winning this series, who would you side with? Golden State's got the home court in the NBA Finals. Who would you side with in a potential Celtics-Warriors matchup?
I'd have to go Golden State. So this would be the time that I would probably flip on Boston. You know, we made some positions. We came in on Boston and we took some Boston after the first game to win the series. And, you know, people are like, well, what happened about, you know, Miami? It's like, well, the series price after game one, we were able to get Boston at plus 140. So, you know, I like to bet numbers. I don't really bet teams. And I have a feeling that Golden State is going to win that first game at home. So, you know, let's make a point spread on this first game, hypothetically speaking. It's going to be Golden State like -3, I would think. So they should, you know, win this game. I think the numbers should be higher. There's a lot of respect for Boston from the bookmaking side. But I've seen the ascension of Andrew Wiggins. We've seen Jordan Poole make some big shots. Oracle's an extremely tough place to play. And, of course, the Warriors will have game number 1 at home. As I say, Golden State 3, that even seems kind of short. Maybe 4. Maybe Golden State -4 in game number 1. But that implies that they should take care of business on their home court. So I'm going to lay 120 or 125 when the price comes out and hope that, you know, Golden State wins that first game, because after one game, the Warriors would go from -120, 25-30 to -200. And then at that point, you know, you could take the Celtics. At that point, if you like Boston, you might want to wait until after game 1. I just think that first game is going to be a buzzsaw. Golden State is much healthier. Boston has been just battered in this series. I mean, let's not act like they're not completely healthy either, you know, because Horford's missed some time. Smart can barely walk around. That's a hobbled basketball team. And it's also the first finals for Boston with this group, assuming they win tonight. So I think butterflies and nerves and all that stuff plays a part of it as well. Where Golden State's like, yeah, we've been here before. This is our 6th NBA Finals in 8 seasons. I think there's a lot of stock that I put in that.
Yeah, and they are undefeated at home this postseason. Home court advantage definitely looking good for them. But you said you bet teams. I know you're taking an Horford prop tonight, but looking at some player props and looking at the odds to win the finals, right now, Warriors -155, but you can get Steph Curry plus 120 to win finals MVP. Do you think that there's more value in taking him? Like, you can maybe even like hedge out your bet slip, taking the Celtics plus 140 and then Curry plus 120. So what do you make of it there, looking at the finals projections?
Yeah, we couldn't do this stuff like 10 years ago. It's like, all right, just bet the team. But now we can do a variety of different things. And look, I'm bullish on Golden State winning the NBA championship. So I think what I would do, let's say I have like $100 bill and you say, all right, let's shake this out and split it. I'd probably put about 70 of that 100 on Curry to win the MVP, and I'd put the other 30 on Klay Thompson. I know Klay hasn't been as good as he was in the dynasty years, but I mean, we saw a little bit of that old Klay yesterday when he was just torching them from downtown. And the thing about Klay is that he usually finds a way to get open. And if he can average, 25 points in the NBA Finals and make big shots down the stretch in multiple games, there's a very realistic situation where the Golden State Warriors win the title and Steph Curry doesn't win the MVP. I mean, we saw Andre Iguodala win an MVP with Golden State. It was like, well, Klay and Steph and Draymond, and then Andre Iguodala wins it because he ends up locking down LeBron James in one of those NBA Finals. So, look, odds are good. You're right. It's Curry. At plus 125, that's a better bet than the Warriors to win it at minus 150. But I would split that a little bit. I'd go like 70-75 on Steph, and then I'd put the rest on Klay, and then of course Andrew Wiggins would win it. But that's probably what I would do with my $100 bet.
I really
Sammy,
like it. Klay Thompson, like plus you get 1,700 odds there. So
yeah, great. That's a great.
That looks very good. I like that.
Sammy, before we let you go, I know you got your show in a little bit. You have a couple best bets for tonight?
Yeah, I'm looking at this total in Boston and Baltimore. I mean, these Red Sox numbers have come through on the over in 6 of 7. And I'm not a big trends player, but I've watched them just thump average pitching. And they go into Chicago and score 16 runs on Tuesday. They beat the snot out of the White Sox yesterday. It's just like this offense right now is hot. And I don't want to step in front of a freight train with this offense. I'm not going to lay a big favorite number either, because Baltimore is a really bad team. You're going to lay big chalk. But I think over 10 is a good bet. I think this could be a game where it's like 12-5 type atmosphere. The two starters really not all that special. Whitlock doesn't go deep in games, and Bradish is learning the ropes as a major league starter. So I like the over 10 in Boston and Baltimore. And I did make a future bet last night before the game. I hate to pass post on your program, but I will. I put a little Edmonton to win the Stanley Cup at 7-1. I want to bet Connor McDavid. I want to have money on that guy because he is the best player in hockey. And I think he has toiled long enough. It's not to say they're going to get past Colorado or St. Louis or that they'll even beat Tampa Bay, but damn it, I want to bet on them. Like it's a fun team because they scored 25 goals in 5 games against Calgary. They whooped them. And that was one of the best defenses in hockey. Okay, 25 goals in your eyeball in 5 games. Their forecheck is so good. Their wingers are talented. And when they put pressure in the defensive zone and turn you over, those goaltenders don't know what's coming next. So I think Edmonton, even at plus 550 to win the Stanley Cup, it's something that I feel confident in, and it's something that I want to root for as they embark on, hopefully, a Stanley Cup, because I want my bets to come through.
Yeah, and the Angels, they were a team that was the talk of the town in MLB. They are neck and neck right now in Houston for the race to the ALS West Division title. They're up against the Blue Jays tonight. Do you have a pick in there?
I like Manoah. Yeah, it's nothing too crazy, nothing too strong, but I think Alek Manoah is one of the few uncovered gems for a lot of people that bet baseball. I think Manoah, to get him around minus 110, minus 115 on the road is a pretty good bet. I love his stuff. He's got swing and miss stuff. Really, really good pitcher. And I think, in the next year or two, we'll be talking about Alek Manoah potentially being a sleeper or one of the contenders, rather, for the AL Cy Young. Not a household name yet, but his stuff is damn good. And I think that's a really good price. Like I said, I wouldn't lay 130 or 140 on Manoah on the road, but you can lay 110 or 115. I feel good about that one.
All right, Sammy. Well, we appreciate your time. And I know you got work to do. Tell us again where we could find you.
Yeah, just follow the shows at NESN Bets. We just put the Twitter pages up, I think, last week. So we're growing by the minute at NESN Bets on Twitter, and you can see the shows on the television channel. It's Monday through Friday, 5:30 on NESN.
All right. And also Chicken Dinner. We can find that. Where can we find Chicken Dinner?
Yeah, just search Chicken Dinner on Twitter at Chicken X Dinner. I appreciate you guys having me on. I apologize for being a 95-year-old man and not being configuring my settings, but hopefully we're able to win some bets, make some money, and enjoy the holiday weekend.
All right. Sam Panaytovich, Sammy P at SP Shoot on Twitter. Thanks, Sammy.
Thank you.
All right. There he is. And good stuff out of him. Really enjoyed that. And he's an up-and-comer in this business. He's been around. So
yeah, winner chicken dinner. I like that.
You know what? Hey, I'll give him credit for that's a good one. To come up with that.
You don't know what that show is about until you dive into it.
Right? You're like chicken dinner. Are you talking about chicken? Nope. Talking about winners.
I've been eyeing getting an air fryer. Maybe that will help me out. No, it's betting.
So no, it's good. And so now all these shows, Stephanie, they're all over the place on TV. All these
competition.
All these regional networks now saying, you know what, we need to have some gambling shows on during the day. And you're like, oh, okay. Now it's okay. Before it wasn't okay, but now let's all dive into this. So
I work in the Big Ten, and they can't have affiliation with gambling. So maybe eventually over time they'll jump on board. College is a little bit different, but I don't think the SEC has that issue. They just love the money.
Just whatever we'll talk about. We know you're all betting on it, so let's just do it.
Yeah.
Like it matters. And you got NILs anyway. Everyone's getting paid, so it doesn't really matter. So
I actually love betting college football. It's probably my favorite thing to bet too.
Got a lot of options.
I'm bred in college football, but I think it's just certain games you kind of know how it's going to play out.
Yeah, just hope that some of these teams cover the big numbers. That's what you got to hope for. And listen, this is it's been a lot of fun. This has been a good time. You've been on with us the last few months, dating back to like February, I guess, right? Because it was before March Madness, right?
It was when the Super Bowl happened. I started deep into Vegas Insider. Yep. Late
January, early February. So very happy that you've been able to join us here on the Daily Insider and also on the Great Day Nation with Morton Anderson, with Tommy Freezepop. So and that's going to continue. But yeah, the Daily Insider taking a bit of a break for the summer months. Good timing now with the Memorial Day weekend up ahead. So all we got left really is NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup, and some baseball. But we'll be back for football coming up in August with some new talent, with some time changes. So just want to let people know we will keep you updated on that. Check us out on our social media at Vegas Insider on Twitter, and we'll update you there. Stephanie Otey, you see her Twitter handle there at Steph Otey. My Twitter handle at VI Rogers. And again, check us out on Twitter at Vegas Insider. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, Stephanie. It was a good time the last few months here.
Yeah, and it's exciting to think about all the stuff in the works. I mean, I'm excited for Vegas Insiders to meet all of the new people jumping on board, the shows that we're developing, a lot of sports specific. So if you want just college football, you got that. If you just want NBA, you'll get that. And we have like the people we're bringing on board are really, really exciting. I think they're going to appeal to all fan bases. I'm super pumped about the people joining our shows.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. It should be good. And then we'll be at football. And then football, I mean, that's
football. Like, how excited is football? I'm so pumped.
Not to say baseball. I love baseball. Not to say baseball is tough, but we know that football, the once a week, a lot more.
Talk about the same thing over and over. You can get more in depth. Like, I genuinely believe if they abbreviated the baseball season, even the game itself, instead of being like a 3-hour plus game, if they abbreviated it, you'd get a whole lot more viewership and things like that. I mean, baseball is a tough season.
It is. And baseball fills the time until football. It does. And I can follow it. I can handicap it, but it fills the time until we get to a football season. So
I'd be fine if they pushed basketball season back like a month so that we had NBA Finals July. And then basically come August, we have college football starts in August. You got OTAs, talking up like the preseason of the NFL. Wait, I really like that idea. Can we push NBA back 1 month?
Call Adam Silver. You got his number?
Yeah.
You can get in touch with him.
That would be perfect because NBA doesn't really compete with baseball. They compete with football. And there's an overlap in the fall.
NBA should start in mid-November. It shouldn't start in mid-October.
Yeah, like a Thanksgiving, like right after Thanksgiving. Well, because Thanksgiving is such a football day. I mean, yeah, there's basketball games too, good ones, but yeah, I'm with you. Let's make that a petition.
You know what? We have some time.
All calendar year.
We're gonna write someone and let them know. We're gonna say, change this up. We need to push this back. We need, like last year was good having it in July. I thought it would, even though we know why, because the pandemic and everything pushed the previous season back. But it was good because you still had something going on, like All-Star Week in baseball when nothing's going on. You had some NBA. So I think that
I don't like the Super Bowl the day before Valentine's Day though.
That's got pushed back too much, I think.
It's usually on my birthday weekend, like the day I was born, like the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. So it's always been like my birthday that weekend or that Monday. Now it's like a week back and first week of February. Lock that in. Keep it there.
Yeah, I think we'll do it. I think that sounds good. All right. Well, our thanks to Sammy P for joining us. Took him a little bit of time, but good information in the short time he was on. Check him out on NESN. And also, you could find him on Twitter as well at SP Shoot. So you could find him there. For Stephanie Otey, Stephanie, again, we appreciate it. I am Kevin Rogers. We will talk to you again very soon. We promise we will be with you as soon as we get back towards football. So we'll be with you very, very soon. And as always, best of luck with your bets.